All right, hello and welcome to a couple minutes about, we're going to talk about roots. I'm assuming you've learned about exponents before you watch this video. If not, go back and understand exponents and what exponents are before this video. And here we go. So what are roots? Well, they're kind of the opposite of exponents. Got this little sign here. It's called the radical sign. And there's a number under here. I'll put the number 25, for example. I say it's the opposite of exponents. It really is an exponent in and of itself, but you'll learn more about that later. The point is, think of what an exponent is. Let's say 5 squared. That means 5 times 5, and that's 25. Roots are kind of the opposite. What is the root of 25? Or what number times itself gives you 25? Well, the number times itself that gives you 25 is the number 5. So the square root of 25 is 5. That's what we're saying there. And we're talking about squares because you know that if I have a square of size 5 on one side, it's a square, so you've got a 5 and a 5. That means there's 25 squares in here. If I take 25, and what was it that made the 25? How did I get the 25? This radical says, how did I get the 25? What's the square root of it? Oh, it's 5. So, for example, what's the square root of 100? What number times itself gives me 100? Yep, 10. Well, what number times itself gives me 81? Well, that's 9. And what number times itself gives me 169? Tried to find a number that maybe you haven't memorized yet. It's 13. You know this one, the square root of 144. What's that one? What number times itself is 144? Well, it's 12. And we can do this with decimals, with fractions, with huge numbers. What is the square root of 10,000? What number times itself is 10,000? You can do some investigation, maybe trial and error. I'll tell you that it's 100. The square root, whoa, I'm being very messy today. The square root of, 900. What number times itself will give you 900? You can do some trial and error, but I'll tell you it's 30. Just like the square root of 121 is 11. Or the square root of, let's say, 256 is 16. Some of these you'll memorize as you do math, especially as you get into 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. But it just means what number times itself gives you that number. You can do it with fractions as well. What's the square root of 25/64? Well, the square root of 25 is 5. And the square root of 64 is 8, so the answer is 5/8. And to work backward, the reason that works is because if you have 5/8 squared, 5 times 5 is 25, and you're squaring everything in the parentheses, so 8 squared is 64. And you can do it with decimals as well. What's the square root of 0.64? What number times itself gives you 0.64? Well, like this, 0.8 times 0.8. 8 times 8 is 64, and you have two numbers past the decimal, so you move it over 2 places, 0.64, so it's 0.8. The square root of 1.44, if you can kind of see that, oh wait, that's like 12. And I've got two numbers past the decimal, so if I just come over one number on each of them, I've got 144. Well, that's just 12. And I just put the decimal in there. This is kind of a little higher order thinking to try to see the fractions and decimals of this. But if you're coming over 2 places, you just come over 1 place on each of the number, and you've got it. Using that rationale, what's the square root of 0.25? Oh, we know that 25 works, and if I come over 1 place on this one, I know that 0.5 and 0.5 will give me that number. If I were to square it back, I'm going to go to the opposite. If I square it, come over 2, yes, I get the number that I would have gotten. A little higher order thinking as I just kind of rush through the root operation. Just know that what's the root of a number? This is called the radical sign, and it's what number times itself gives me x. Last one, what's the square root of, let's see if I can get another one real quick. One's not coming to mind. I've already done the 100,000. What about this one? See if you can figure out what the square root of that one is. Hit pause if you'd like for a second. And I'll tell you on these zeros, if I've got 3 and 3 right there, if I put 3 zeros on this number and 3 zeros on that number, I've got it. So the square root of 1 million is 1,000. 1,000 thousands is a million. If you didn't know that before, you know it now. And that's just a quick introduction to the idea of roots. Thanks for watching.